Hey everybody, welcome back Broncos Gaming World. Today we're taking a look at some basic round one strategies for the United Kingdom. Had some folks ask me in chat and in comments for some pointers, and I figured that would be a good opportunity to kind of throw a quick stream together for some Axis and Allies and show you guys what I do for some basic round one purchases and moves for the United Kingdom. The biggest piece of your strategy really actually depends on what is done with the Soviet Union. Now, whether you're playing with like a hot seat game with a bunch of other players, or whether it's just you versus another player, everything hinges on what you do with the Soviet Union. So, if the Soviet Union screws the pooch on you, then the United Kingdom is going to have their turn one is going to be a pain in the ass because the Germans are going to kind of run roughshod on you. So, Soviet Union, whatever they buy, I mean, again, I am I'm a four in a plane guy. I think the best, I think according to the metagame right now, I think the best purchases are four dudes and two tanks. But I like the plane because the plane long term really can add some flexibility to you. So for the United Kingdom, what matters to them in the first turn of the game the most is what happens right here. And it's what happens to this asshat right there, that guy. If you're using the Gen Con, Larry Harris Gen Con 3.0 setup, which is what the ranked mode in 1942 uses, you'll have the bomber in Ukraine. If that guy is there at the end of this turn and you're playing United Kingdom, you're looking at you need to stop and look at whoever's playing the Soviet Union if you're playing like a multiplayer game and just be like, bro, what the fuck? Because you're gonna have a bad day. There's a high chance that you're gonna have a bad day. So first things first, Soviet Union has to freaking move as much as they can. And again, my opinion, I am by no stretch of the imagination a professional or anything like that, but in my opinion, strategy wise, Soviet Union has to move as much as they can into Ukraine and fight that battle. They have to. They just have to. And you have to win. You have to kill everything. Okay? You just do. You've got to take them out. So, here we go. Incoming. And a lot of times that battle isn't going to go great. And you may end up with only like one tank left. You may end up with three tanks left. In my opinion, again, from a strategy standpoint, the Soviet Union has to sacrifice those. They just have to. They have to sacrifice those to get that bomber. So that's a hell of a roll right there on this one. So we got 4 hits. So all their land units are gonna, or all their foot units are gonna be out of here. And then their retort is awful. Their response was terrible. So we only lose one guy here. You press on here. This is the key. A lot of folks will tell you, oh, you just want to hit and run. No, you press on. As the Soviet Union, you push. Because this guy right here has to die. He has to. If you leave him alive, the United Kingdom player is going to have a bad day. So keep that in mind in a multiplayer game. So they got another one. We didn't kill the fighter. We'll get him this time. But a lot of times you'll end up with like 3 tanks left typically is about standard, I think. 2 to 3 tanks left out of this fight. And a lot of folks will be like, oh, but you're going to leave the Russian tanks hanging. My response to that is you're dead. You're damn right I am. So there's your turn one. Now, obviously, the Soviet Union's going to do other things, but again, I'm just kind of doing a UK tutorial here. But this play by Russia matters a lot. I mean, it's critical here. So the Soviet Union will end up with 2, 3, sometimes this here, and if you're playing in a multiplayer game, your Soviet Union guy is going to be like, I don't want to leave my guys out there, and a UK player's got to plead with them, please, please kill that bomber, please. Towards the end of the stream here, I'll talk about some sneaky shit that I've seen some guys do to try to dissuade a move from the Soviet Union into there. But typically you'll have something that resembles this done at the end of the fight. You'll have taken west because you're going to do the 12-9 move. You'll have taken west and Ukraine. You'll have anywhere between 1 and 4 or 5 units left. Okay. And then in the non-combat, the Soviet Union will most likely move their sub over there. If they don't, you need to beg them to do so. That sub is useless to the Soviet Union. 100% useless. So ask them to move it over here so that it actually does something to help Great Britain. Again, this is where players need to talk to each other. Like communicate, or obviously if you're just playing on your own, make sure you don't forget to move that guy over there. Because what he is a point of damage against your cruiser. Your cruiser is not going to just plop the destroyer and battleship. It forces the German player here to bring more to make sure he wins that fight. So that's the end. That's the end of the things that what the Soviet Union will do to most of the time to influence UK's turn one. It's going to be what do they do to Germany, and is the bomber in Ukraine dead, and did you move your sub to C Zone 7? Like, if you're sitting at a table, especially with newer players, those are moves that you want to make sure that your newer players do. So you want to make sure that happens. I'll deploy the stuff for Soviet Union real quick, and then we'll take a look at what Germany's going to do. So Germany in round one, again, ignoring the Soviet Union because I'm not going to bother with that part. But what'll happen here, okay, turn one for the Germans, you'll see something that resembles this a lot of times. They'll buy 7-2 and they'll replace the bomber that you killed, which is fine. That bomber only matters to Great Britain in round one. After that, it matters, but it doesn't matter as much. Okay, so here's your combat moves. So at minimum, you're going to see this here, the cruiser, sub, and 2 fighters at minimum are going to go after C Zone 7. They just are. Okay, that is typically enough to win that fight. Typically it is enough. Like when I play as Germany, that's what I bring. I will bring that to C Zone 7, and I would say 9 times out of 10 I win that. You'll see this. A wise player is going to do one of 2 things with these subs. He's either going to just move them into 7 to make sure they win, or they're going to move them here. There's no point in taking out these guys when you can get 2 transports in the destroyer instead of just 1. So if somebody's moving there to do that, I don't know what they're trying to do, and there's no point in taking this guy on. They're just not. This guy, you can only get to him with 1 fighter. If you're feeling lucky, punk, go right ahead. But I don't think that's not tactically that's a bad move. Don't do that. Over here. Now, because you killed the bomber, taking Egypt is a lot more difficult. Because the best they can do is they can bring these 2 guys here, and they can bring these 2 guys here. 2 dudes, 2 tanks against your 4 guys here. The fighter is the big difference, and defensively they hit better. Yeah, defensively, they hit you better. Where if you put the bomber into play, here, I'll bring up something here. I'll bring up a calculator and I'll show you. It's not like a guarantee here, but it's pretty darn close to a guarantee. If Germany has the bomber, okay, just to show you. So Germany would attack with 2 infantry, 2 tanks, and a bomber. Egypt has 1 of each of the normal units. Okay. So that puts it at a 12 attack power versus an 11 attack power. They have 5 things that can take damage against 4. So if you run the calculator, it gives you a 55% chance. I can honestly say I feel like it's better than that. But this is, take the bomber out of the equation and it's a no-go. It doesn't happen. So again, I'll take the bomber out of the equation. You take the bomber out of the equation, they can't. They just can't. So for the UK player's begging Soviet Union player to take the bomber out of Ukraine. That eliminates a realistic attempt for Germany to take Egypt in turn 1. Because a lot of folks they struggle to try to figure out how to stop a basic attack from Germany into Egypt or into Africa. So what you'll see instead is you'll see this move instead. You'll see something like this where they'll take the guys they were going to move down into Egypt and they'll move them in to attack Transjordan. They'll move the battleship to 17 and they'll take the transport and attack here. That way it gets more bodies into the Middle East and into the African theater, further stretching the resources that India can help provide down here. So those are the 2 moves that Germany will do pretty typically in the first turn against the United Kingdom. Now, the other thing you do want to keep an eye on is if they do a move like this. Okay, I'll show you another one here. So they could do this. Their purchases will tell you what they're doing too. They could do this shit. Okay, they could do this. They could go 1, 2. Get rid of that. And they could swing their battleship this way. And you swing your troop carrier out and take Gibraltar for free. Okay, they could do that. They could make that move, which is setting them up for potentially going at UK in round 2. If you don't go after UK in round 2, if you're a German player and you're not trying to take UK out early, it's a lot more difficult to do. You'll have to kind of wait and see what the British player does and see if they leave the door open for you to do something. But you'll also see it if the German player has their intention is to go after UK, they'll likely buy an aircraft carrier, an aircraft carrier or 2 transports, and drop them in Sea Zone 5, so that they'll have 4 transports available to them, and maybe a destroyer. I think they have enough to do all of that. To be like a destroyer, an aircraft carrier, and 2 transports. And then they'd land planes on the carrier to prevent the Britain from coming at them with their air force. And then in turn 2, They ideally hope that the battleship survives here, and then they would pick up 8 units worth of troops and all of their airplanes and try to take you out in turn 2. So be aware that that might be a thing. Watch out for that move. It's obvious. It's the only way. They can't hide it. They drop a carrier and transports in Sea Zone 5 in turn 1. They're coming for Britain first. They're going to try to sea lion you right out of the box, and you got to be ready for it. How do you counter that? Just buy a bunch of dudes. Just buy a ton of infantry and dump them into Britain, into the UK proper. It's not hard to stop, but if you're not paying attention or you don't know, they can catch you off guard. Like against the CPU, you can do it because the CPU won't do it. The CPU will buy 3 planes and drop them in India in the first turn, which means that if you do this move here, move your transport and battleship out here, your carrier and transports here, you can take UK with 3 transports worth of guys and a bunch of planes as long as you're willing to crash airplanes. You could take the UK in turn 2 against the CPU almost every time. But yeah, watch out for that move. But if they're going after Africa, that's what they're going to do. So I'm going to reset that back up. That's what they're going to do. They're going to go. Actually, I don't need to. I can just cancel this. They're going to just go that way. Yeah, they're likely going to go here. Well, they have to go there with the battleship, and they'll drop their guys here. That's what the Germans' moves against the UK in turn 1 are going to look like. None of their planes can get down there to help. Like I said earlier, they could send a plane to Sea Zone 13, but that's a 50-50 battle. They don't want to fight that. Planes are too valuable to throw in the ocean. Okay, so we're going to play it out, and I'll show you what it looks like. We'll see how it goes. So it says unlikely. It's not unlikely. You're actually in a reasonable spot. I want to make sure that I sent all my subs. I want to make sure I didn't forget something. No, I think we're good. So you'll see that a lot. You might see a more of a commitment to Sea Zone 7. It just depends, but here we go. So Sea Zone 17, it should be an auto win by Germany. I have seen the destroyer win the fight down here before, but it's uncommon. But you never know. I mean, right there, if he hits me, I'm scared. No. Yeah. It's like, that's 3 6s in a row. Look at that. I wish I could roll 6s like that. Look at that shit. 3 6s in a row by the battleship. So many 6s have hit the table. All right. Yeah, come on, battleship. All you have to do is hit them once. There you go. I'm still convinced that the dice rolling algorithm is broken. All right, so there you go. It took longer than it should have, but we got it done. So they'll kill that ship. Know that your destroyer in Sea Zone 17 isn't going to live. Most of the time, he's not going to live. Like, Germany can do some weird shit like picking up dudes and dropping them in Ukraine or Caucasus too. You just kind of play it by ear, but this is what I'm talking about, a UK turn 1 here. So this is a lot of what you'll see from UK towards UK in turn 1 and what you're going to do. Infantry get the hit there. We'll see if they get one back. They do. So this is pretty typical for them to have either an artillery or a tank left, depending on what they pick up. Because Germany will either pick up these 2 guys here or the guys from Italy. I typically go for the tank because if the tank survives, He's just he can kick the door open and just wheel down. You know, he can wheel down into Africa. So here's C Zone 7. We should win this easily just with what I brought here. But here's where the Russian sub can play a part, though. If he gets he rolls a 1 here, you're sweating a little bit. So 1 hit there. That'll do the 1 hit on their battleship. 1 hit back, that sinks our sub. That's fine. Good push. So let's see if he can get a cheap one. Nope. 2 hits out of us. That sinks the cruiser and the sub. You get 2 hits on us. So 1 hit's definitely going to take the cruiser. The other hit takes the fighter. You hate to lose all of these. A lot of times you can see, wow, are they going to win this? They did. Okay. So I lost that. That's uncommon. But that's a loss there. So they are going to have their battleship and their transport up there. Don't worry about that though. From a strategy standpoint, the battleship isn't going to survive. It won't. I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10 he won't live. They did get the we did get the 2 here. Okay. So non-combat movement doesn't really matter for UK's turn. Non-combat, they're going to do this. They're going to most likely move all their dudes this way. Sometimes you'll see them drop a plane down here. And that's fine if they do. And then they're going to consolidate all their forces to start pushing against the Soviet Union. Unless they're going to Sea Line, which you'll see that coming a mile away. No big deal. You'll literally see it coming a mile away. So don't worry about that part. I mean, yeah, you will see it. There's no way you won't see it coming. So, sorry about that, guys. Screen closed on me. Okay, so again, Germany. Let's for shits and giggles, we'll say Germany throws a plane down there. That's fine. It is what it is, and we're gonna for shits and giggles pretend that none of this survived. I'm just gonna move them out of the way. They're dead. We're just gonna say they're dead because they should be dead. You know, chances are Germany's gonna kill them. I went in with what I normally would go. I win that about 90% of the time. Worst case scenario, the transport survives, but that's not really a thing either that we care about. All right, so that's going to be the end of what Germany's going to do that the United Kingdom gives a shit about. These here. I mean, and that's a pretty normal purchase for the United Kingdom internal or Germany. Okay, so the United Kingdom. Right here we're looking at what do we want to do? So this is the key now for the United Kingdom. What do you want to do? Do you care about Africa? 1. If you do, it'll change what you buy and where you put it. If you're trying to do like a KJF, a kill Japan first, you're going to likely you're going to go try to kill C Zone 37. If you're going to do that, what you buy is going to be a lot different too. For strategy 1 here, let's say you care about Africa and you want to stop Africa. No problem. That's a pretty normal move because Japan's probably the side of the world you can ignore a little bit. So if you're going to do that, what I recommend for purchases in your first turn, again, assuming these guys are dead, I'm just assuming they're dead because they typically will be. I'm going to buy an aircraft carrier, a destroyer, and then I'm going to buy 3 infantry to dump into India. Okay, so that would be my purchase. Okay. Now, the next thing you got to look at is right here. C-Zone 17, if you're fighting against Germany in turn 1, C-Zone 17 can't live. So you've got to go here, here, in the bomber. And you got to kill C-Zone 17. You have to. These guys, you're going to move to Transjordan, and you're going to take the tank out. Yes, that means leaving Egypt open. It's fine. You'll survive. You just leave it open. It's okay. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So they can get back. Okay. So those are the moves that you can do to help against Africa right away. Again, we're making the assumption that these 2 guys are dead. They don't exist. They're dead. Okay. Odds are there'd be a cruiser up there, maybe. Maybe. Okay, you have to kill the transport. You just do. He's got to die. So you're going to fly a plane there to kill the transport. All right, but you do have 2 other ships here. Okay, you could go this way in hopes of killing them. Their defense sucks. That's probably not a terrible move. That's what I would probably do to try to secure the Atlantic. Okay. Over here, you do have to worry about Japan. So, Japan, if you're not going to go at them, if you're going to focus on the Eastern Front and taking care of Germany first, which is a pretty standard move, you still got to do something out here. Okay. This is not an option. You can't win that fight. Without this fighter and this fighter, you cannot win C-Zone 37. You just can't. It's not going to happen. So don't even try to do it. So what do you do? Well, this destroyer and transport are kind of the next on the priority list to die. The aircraft carrier means nothing to you at this point. So I would typically send those 2 to C-Zone 61 to take out the destroyer and transport using the aircraft carrier as a flak unit. This transport here, you could do a couple of things with. You could either pick up 2 dudes and try to go at Borneo, or you could pick up 2 dudes and dump them into Transjordan. Again, knowing odds are your transport's going to die, because Japan will kill your entire fleet if you don't go at them. They will kill everything. So use it. Do something productive with it. The only ones that might escape are these guys, because you could try to run them out this way, because their focus is likely going to be here. But they could come get you, but you may try to escape that way. You could go send your sub up there and see if their sub's not set to submerge. I don't know if my defense profile is set. Yeah, see, my defense profile is set to sink sub or to submerge subs. So you could do that. You could also pick up 2 guys and go at New Guinea. I'm a big fan of those 2 moves, because if you do win this one here, the New Guinea one I don't love as much, because you only get 1 for it. But you could do these 2, because if you win them both, you can get their cruiser to go help there. If you win both of these, that's 5 IPCs that you just get to use right out of the box, which is nice. But that's my turn 1 combat moves for Britain. They've got a lot. They got a lot more than people think. I mean, honestly, they really do. All right, so let's see how it goes for us. Again, assuming the battleship and transport are dead. That just, in my example here, it didn't work out, and I'm not going to go start up another game just to try to make it happen. So again, just looking at just basic stuff here. Nothing crazy, not top end platinum level play here. I'm not recreating the wheel. And if you lose this fight, it's really not the end of the world. You're going to win it. So we win this one. And you win it, and you're down with 2 guys, so you're down strong, which means Japan's going to have to bring some strength to kick you off that island. There's your free 4 IPCs. Yeah, you're going to lose your transport. It's fine. It's likely going to die anyway, or it's going to take 3 turns to do anything. So don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world if it dies. We did not get any help from our cruiser, but our guys, again, we get them both. So Britain gets both of them here. So we've got our 5 IPCs for free. Right. The hard one is C-Zone 61. That's the one that's the most important move out of all of these. And C-Zone 17. You got to get 17 and 61. Here we go. 17. We got him. Dead. And you kill your bomber here. You kill the bomber. Yes, I know he costs more money. You kill the bomber. Your fighters are more important. Because their defense is 4. Your fighters are more important. So boom, their fleet's dead in 17. Now they have to really commit to Africa if they want it. And in my opinion, that's an awful lot of work for what's essentially 8 IPCs worth of land. And here's the win in Transjordan. We got it. All right, now the big one. The one you got to get. Oh, no, hold on. This one's important too, because you want to get these subs out of there. And you really don't want to lose either one of these ships if you can help it. Okay, so we rolled 2 6s to miss them both. Try again. We got 1. They both miss again. Again, the subs defense is so bad. 2 1s. Their subs defense is so bad that you just don't want to deal with that. Now we'll lose our destroyer. It's fine. We won the fight. We'll still have the cruiser left. And then over here. Oh, God, we're rolling so bad. Okay, one more time. All right, we got him. And that'll do it. We could lose the carrier here. No, that's fine. Again, do something with them because they're going to die. Most likely they're going to die anyway. So do something with your Navy in the Pacific. Do something with it. We'll see. The sub's going to run away. Odds are it's going to happen. There they go. Bye-bye. Okay. So now that the combat's done on turn run combat, which went really well for Britain. Really, really well. Now we got to land some planes. Ideally, you want to land back at India in there. This guy, you want to move him to reinforce here. Don't forget the guy in South Africa. You want to move him up. It's up to you if you want to leave this guy here, move him here, or retreat him. I'm a big fan of retreating him. What you've also done here in the Pacific, because you did take out this transport here, is they cannot do a lick to you in India for at least 2 turns, turn 3 at the earliest, because they only have 1 transport. Bam. So if they buy transports in turn 2, they still can't get to you. And then all you do is focus on burning their units in the Pacific. Over here, okay, so you bought, so again, these guys are dead, so we're just going to pretend they're dead. Pretend that we're dead. There they go, they're dead. So you've got this guy here. He's going to return to Sea Zone 7. You're going to dump this plane to Sea Zone 7. This guy's going to stay right where he is. The only other thing you could do is if you did want to reinforce Africa, you can come down here and drop him down there. That way you have a tank down there, another guy, and this group of dudes here. And then in 2 turns from now, you move up to Sea Zone 8. So no guarantees that the carrier and the destroyer survive, but Germany will have to put some firepower into it to take you out. Okay, if you didn't want to buy the carrier and destroyer, then take those 2 planes that are here and fly them down here. That way they can get into the African fight and potentially help India if needed. The Soviet Union will be okay without those planes for a little bit. They don't need those planes until at least turn 3. So don't worry about shipping planes to the Soviet Union yet. They don't need it. Like, the Soviet Union will be just fine without you for a couple of turns. Like, I'm not saying that you don't help them at all, but you don't need to jump all over helping them. But this transport's going to survive. There's no planes that can get to him. So he's going to be okay out here. In the worst case scenario, you move him to 11 and then back up, but you should be able to move him from 23 to 8 because it's okay to move your fleet from 7 to 8, especially since this guy is probably going to be incoming here. He'll come back with the American fleet at some point. But there you go, folks. That's some basic stuff that I would do in turn 1 of most games that if I was running UK and going after Germany first. And then you're going to get your deployment, mobilize, destroyer in 7, and your carrier in 7. And your 3 infantry in India. Bam. And there it is. The Americans, what are they going to do that would affect your first turn? Virtually nothing. Odds are they'll drop this plane right here in India. If they're going east, you might see their bomber show up here, and they'll throw some transports in a carrier probably, getting ready to start shucking guys up and over or down and around. And you just coordinate with your American player, or obviously if it's just you, make sure you coordinate your 2 countries together so that they work. Germany turn 2, what they're going to do is if you kill them in Sea Zone 17, odds are they're going to be like, to hell with Africa. I've got to push on Russia, otherwise I can't beat them. So what they'll do is they'll grab these guys here and they'll move in. And you can, depending on what it looks like, you could potentially bring 2 fighters and these 3 guys against those guys. They won't have the fighter there because he can't land there. And then if that doesn't go well, you'll have the next turn, you'll have this guy, and this guy available to come back at him along with the planes, because do not kill your airplanes when you're attacking. Unless it's to win the game, do not kill your airplanes. As soon as you start killing airplanes, the battle's lost. So don't do that. They're too expensive. They're too valuable. Don't kill your airplanes in combat unless you're going to win. If Germany's trying to sea lion UK in turn 2, they're killing airplanes, because if they killed UK in turn 2, you're probably going to win the game. But there's no reason to kill your airplanes any other time. Don't do it. So there's some quick basic strategies for stuff that I would do for the United Kingdom in round 1 if I'm going to try to stop Germany from having a field day in Africa. That's some basic stuff that has definitely, at minimum, stalled it out and made them take longer, forced them to put more resources into Africa. If they're putting resources into Africa, the Soviet Union's going to win because they won't be able to shuck units into Africa, build boats to get to Africa, and be able to beat the Soviet Union. They just won't. They can't. The Soviet Union will just overrun them with the sheer volume of bodies. And there's nothing that they can do about it. So there you go, folks. Short stream today. Anybody who watched today, I appreciate you guys for hanging out for a little while. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel here, Broncos Gaming World. I really appreciate your help. Really thank everybody for watching our Tecmo Super Bowl streams as well as my Axis and Allies stuff. I will be doing more of each. I will be eventually getting some other content up on the channel as well. I really appreciate everybody who's watching live and anybody who's watching the VODs after the fact. Thank you guys so much. It's really encouraging to get the feedback that I've been getting, both positive and negative. I mean, I'm open to taking feedback. I'm by no means a professional in any way, shape, or form. I will be back Friday, probably midday, with week 11 and 12 of my Tecmo Super Bowl Cleveland Browns 1986 Rewriting History season. And until then, folks, please have a great day. Take care of yourselves. And good night now.